Hello. Hello, this is the My Artifact episode number 4008. Today's date is April 18, 2026. It's been almost like 10 p.m. Alright, let's just jump into the question. Let's go. Alright, so question is, how will you prevent negative content overload? Oh, that's a really good question. Alright, yeah, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? Okay, so I wanted to build a app called Artifact. Now, what is actually Artifact app? It's a kind of like a something like a like you wrote the diary every single day. Okay, yeah. Instead of writing a diary, what if you could record the diary, record the audio? Okay, yeah. That is what kind of like a something artifact. Like basically this thing now, the stuff that you are kind of like listening right now, this is my artifact. Okay, yeah, this is my kind of like a diary but in audio format. I call them as a artifact, my artifact episode number 4008. I have been doing this thing for almost like a 11 year, and it get me a lot of amount of value in myself. It's a kind of like a self-reflection process that you understand yourself much more better. When I record my artifact, I understand myself much more better. Okay. Basically, is this thing na the because of I get so much amount of value from this artifact, I decided that ki, let's make an app so that other people also get the value. Okay. So it's a kind of like a simply app where people should supposed to be record their artifact. Okay, whatever they are actually happened throughout the day, things and that and that. All right. Now, basically, is this thing? This is kind of like a simply app. Why am I asking this question to myself? Right now, I'm building this application. Okay. Now, basically, is this thing na ki before I wanted to build the application, I wanted to understand every crux, everything, because it's not a kind of like a something copy paste idea. It's a kind of a completely brand new, a new way of thought processing, a new way of social media platform. Artifact is a social media platform that you could able to be kind of like a share your thoughts, as well as you could kind of like a listen other people thought. This app is kind of like a some YouTube platform. In a YouTube platform, you could able to be upload your video, other people would supposed to be watch. Okay, yeah. This is the kind of like a same that you could kind of like a record your artifact. Other people should supposed to be listen your artifact too. There is a one thing that I'm providing is that privacy means the user will have their privacy. Other user will not gonna know your name or things and that. Privacy is very much essential. Now, regarding about the question that says that ki how do I supposed to make sure that like how will I prevent the negative content overload? Okay, first of all is that ki does people talk about the negative content all the time? Well, they does. Okay, yeah. Let me kind of like give you the perspective. Okay, let me try to understand every possible situation. Okay, yeah. Why does people will gonna record the artifact? Okay, yeah. I will gonna ask question to myself why I started recording artifact. Okay, yeah. I started recording artifact 11 year ago is because of that ki I wanted to achieve some sort of goal. I wanted to be a filmmaker. Okay, yeah. And I think I might not become the filmmaker because I don't really have any kind of like some quality, skills, excellence, money. I don't really have anything at all. Okay, yeah. But I know I could able to be become that particular filmmaker. So I wanted to kind of like somebody that ki motivate myself, or I would kind of like some things that ki if I could kind of like somebody record this thought process every single day, it might gonna motivate me to kind of like let me do my work every day. Okay. By the way, I get this idea from movie called Avatar. In the Avatar movie, James Cameron Avatar movie, first movie. In that movie, the people are kind of like recording the log. Okay, yeah, like my log, and they kind of like talk about every single day what exactly happened throughout day and things like that. Why? Because in that planet, like the story, like yeah, like I kind of like resonate. Okay, I'm not going to talk about this movie. Okay, yeah, So I was kind of like really inspired from this idea, and I decided that I should supposed to be record this artifact. Okay. So I started recording artifact, and at the beginning I talk about kind of like something that ki what exactly happened throughout my day and things and that and that. Now every single time basically is this thing, it's not really good. Like sometimes most of my days are kind of like a very much boring. Like nothing really happened. Like just wake up, I did this, I did that, that's it. Okay, yeah. And sometimes na, recording artifact would be kind of like something very stupid, that why do I supposed to be record the artifact? Like it doesn't really kind of like something, nothing really happened special throughout my day. So why do I supposed to be record the artifact? Nothing really at all. So obviously is this thing, when the people will kind of like record the artifact at the beginning, why they will gonna record the artifact? Because there is nothing really happened in their life. Okay, yeah. So this is the one thing that people might not gonna kind of like record the artifact. Okay, yeah. The people who kind of like record the artifact, why they will kind of like record the artifact? Okay, what is actually reason? The second kind of like a people who record the artifact is because of that there is something happened in their life. And what is actually happened? Something not right. Like basically they didn't really get the promotion, they got ditched, or maybe they are heartbroken, or whatever, like a career problem, relationship problem, what not problem. Okay, yeah. So they are kind of like getting something wrong, and when they feel getting something wrong, they want it to frustrated, they will kind of like only record the artifact. Okay, so let me tell you one thing. Okay, the majority of the artifact would be kind of like a base upon negative, like this happened, this wrong happened, this wrong thing happened with me, this wrong thing happened with me, this wrong thing happened with me. Okay, yeah. So ultimately my entire artifact would be kind of like a fill with all the negativity. Okay, yeah. Like this wrong happened, this wrong happened, this wrong happened, this wrong happened. Okay, yeah. So is it wrong? Okay, like let me tell you one thing, that key, if the user wanted to listen the artifact, the every artifact is a negative artifact or wrong artifact. There is no kind of like a positive artifact, or there is nothing really at all. Even like a basically is this thing that key, throughout this journey in my recording artifact, almost like a 4,000 artifact that I recorded. Okay, yeah. I usually talk about something that key, like something wrong happened and things and that mostly. But when I realized that I could utilize this application, sorry, this methodology to kind of like improve myself, so I started asking question to myself to improve myself much more better. Okay, yeah. Right now I'm talking in English is because of I ask question and I kind of like strict myself to talk in English. So that's why I'm kind of like talking English very right now, very fluently. That's what I'm realize that he let people will doesn't really have any kind of like assembly option to record. Like the people doesn't really have any kind of like a reason to record artifact. Yeah, literally just like the only reason they will kind of like record the artifact is kind of like assembly is this thing that key like basically is this thing that key wrong thing happened with them and they will gonna talk, like, right? Yeah. So basically how do I supposed to kind of like have multiple diverse different kind of like artifact should supposed to be created? How do I supposed to do that? How do I supposed to kind of like let the people kind of like record different diverse topic of artifact? Okay, yeah. So simply in my application, okay, there is a feature called topic. Okay, yeah, topic or kind of like a things like a basically is this thing that na ki what do you want it to talk? Okay, yeah. Like it's not till that ki every single day something really happened like extraordinary, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. So what is actually happened? Okay, yeah, that key, if the only the possible kind of like a somebody advantage. Okay, let me kind of like a give you okay a kind of like a clear clarification. Okay, yeah. When you listen the artifact, you might not get that much amount of value. What is value? I'm not really sure. Like feel really good probably. Okay, yeah. The amount of feel good you will get when you record the artifact, the amount of feel good you get less when you listen the artifact. like example, let's just try to visualize. Okay, yeah. The amount of value that you get when you listen someone artifact, you might gonna get value 10 out of maybe 7 or maybe 6 probably. But when you record the artifact, you get value 10 out of 10 or 10 out of 9. Okay, this is what it is. This is what kind of like a thing is that na, ki when you kind of like record the artifact, you will kind of like get the value. So I kind of like making sure that most of my users will kind of like record the artifact, not listen the artifact. Okay, but like basically I do know that at the beginning people might not gonna kind of like simply record the artifact. And what is actually reason for that? The reason for that is kind of like simply awkwardness. And let me tell you, I think that is very real, by the way. Like basically is this thing ki I am kind of like a recording artifact for almost like a 11 year. I recorded almost like a 4,000 artifact. I record every single day. And right now I'm not really being really kind of like awkward and things and that and that. But when I started recording artifact at the beginning, I was so awkward. Like literally just like feel like that na ki this is so stupid. Like every single time my brain kind of like tell me this is so stupid and things and that and that. Like it's a kind of like a thing that na ki someone kind of like put you in front of the stage. Everyone kind of like look at you, but you don't know what do you supposed to be said. Like kind of like said anything. And you just kind of like, why do I kind of like end up in here? Like it's kind of like a feel like reward, but it doesn't feel like reward. It kind of like a feel like burden to us. And this is what kind of like a feel when you at the beginning. Okay, yeah. So that's why most of people will kind of like listen the artifact at the beginning. They might gonna understand what is actually is this application and things and that and that. And somehow when they will kind of like influenced by somebody, they will kind of like started recording artifact. Okay, so at the beginning, people might not gonna record the artifact. They will kind of like listen the artifact. So when those people will listen the artifact, what they will kind of like get, they will kind of like get all the negativity artifact. Like things happen like this particular says, dude, I didn't get the promotion. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Some person said, dude, I got the kind of like something that my girlfriend dumped me on the Valentine Day, or maybe on my birthday. Like it might be kind of like only very things. He might kind of like say this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And you are kind of like things like what the fuck is that? Like why there is no kind of like things, like there is nothing really kind of like a simply uplifting artifact. So basically is this thing, they will not gonna listen, and also they might not gonna continue in the artifact. So how do I supposed to kind of like simply give them different topic to kind of like some diversification? And also I don't want my artifact should supposed to be kind of like a focus on kind of like people are just crying every single day. Okay, I don't want that. So how do I supposed to do that? Okay, so basically this thing, my application will have kind of like a something that key feature. What kind of like a feature? When they press record, okay, recording will not gonna start. There is a kind of like a dialog box came, and in that dialog box there is a kind of like a bunch of questions. Okay, like basically these are kind of like a question that artifact ask you, that kind of like a give the answer of this question. Okay, and what is actually the question? The question is about kind of like a very general, very kind of like a something that ki very funny, or maybe something like that ki what kind of like a movie that you would love to watch. Okay, then okay, like I might gonna say I like basically every day is a kind of like a movie I love to watch. Okay, and why do I then artifact kind of like ask you another question, why do you like this movie? Okay, so basically this thing like basically is it simultaneously actually happen? Well, basically what is actually happen? Okay, you press that button, there is a kind of like a dialog box came. Okay, and in that dialog box there is a kind of like a question pop up. Okay, what kind of like a movie you love to watch? Okay, and bottom is a record button. Okay, now you have to press the record button. Okay, now start recording. Like basically, hello, this is my artifact episode number, this is this. Okay, today's date is this, today's time is this. Okay, today I will gonna ask question to myself. Okay, the question pop up in front of your screen. Okay, the question is that key, what is actually your favorite movie? Then you might gonna say like my favorite movie is this and that and that. Okay, you give the answer. Then there is a kind of like a next question. Okay, yeah, on that, like basically on the bottom, recorder kind of like a recording your audio. In the top section of the screen there is a kind of like a question. Okay, yeah, you ask this question, you give the answer, and then you hit the next. Okay, yeah, then there is a next question. Why do you like this movie so much? Now you have to give the answer regarding about the previous question, that why do you like this movie and things and that and that. Okay, the next question. Okay, yeah, do you recommend this movie to somebody? Yeah, I will. Okay, yeah, why not? Okay, yeah, like then you kind of like give the things and that and that and that and that. The next question. Okay, regarding about same topic, kind of like something different. Like basically at the beginning I have to kind of like give them a such a way that kind of like simply the question after question after question, so that people will kind of like give the answer about this question, then this question and this question. But the question, but the artifact is kind of like a regarding about a movie topic. What kind of like a movie that you like, what kind of like a casting things, what kind of like a stuff or that and that. Or maybe something question about that ki vacation, like which vacation that you love to go, want to go, or things and that and that. Okay, yeah, so this is how I kind of like actually make sure that different topic of artifact will gonna generate, as also people will kind of like realize themselves, okay, I love this movie or I like this vacation or things and that and that. Like basically sometimes na, we love what kind of like a movie that we love to watch. Okay, but when we talk about that movie we realize even more regarding about movie. Okay, so this is how I should supposed to do that, to kind of like a create different topic of kind of like a artifact. Okay, also from the user and things and that, so that artifact became kind of like a simply different version, different scene, different emotions and things and that. It doesn't mean that ki if you wanted to record about something your personal thing, you can able to kind of like simply talk about that personal thing too. Okay, so this is how I do that. Okay, yeah, right now I'm kind of like a building my application, and right now I'm just getting this idea that okay, I would supposed to be kind of like simply record this way and like design my app in this way. Yeah, so basically I think that na, ki when I ask this question I get this idea, like literally just like that. Now when I'm kind of like giving the answer I literally got the idea, okay, I would do that thing. Like basically I just got the idea, I said it to you, and I will gonna implement in my application. Wow, sometimes na, like basically this thing, it is so much impactful, it every single day it impacted on my life and things and that. So this is how I kind of like simply making sure that I will have diverse kind of like a something artifact, so that people will not gonna kind of like flooded with all the negativity, all the negative artifact and things and that. Okay, this is the one method. There is also another method that, okay, yeah, obviously is this thing that ki you are a kind of like a particular person who like I kind of like a somebody like a basically is this thing. There is a one thing I realized that, okay, that ki I don't have any kind of like algorithm, but I will gonna have, okay, regarding about I will understand what kind of like a person you are, what kind of like a some artifact that you listen, and what kind of like a topic that you love to talk. Okay, yeah. But there is a kind of like a one moment will gonna happen. Okay, yeah. And I was kind of like very much scared of that moment. Okay, what is that moment? Okay, so basically is this thing na, our brain is a kind of like a somebody have a weird thought process regarding about something. Okay, let me kind of like give you, okay, let's just say you are kind of like a randomly there is a artifact pop up. Okay, and in that artifact the title name is that ki she was kind of like a like I got dumped on my birthday. Okay, yeah, so this is the title of the artifact. Now you press the icon, you started playing the artifact. Okay, so there is a woman, she kind of like a mentioned that ki how she got breakup on her birthday. Okay, now what will gonna happen? Okay, so basically you are listening her story. Obviously she didn't mention her name and things and that, but she's actually exist at somewhere, and she's a real, and she's a telling a real story, and you started loving her. Okay, no, I will not gonna love her. But that is true. Okay, like let me tell you one thing. Is that na ki we are humans and we love people. But the problem is that na we don't know how we supposed to be love people. Like basically most of people kind of like think that na ki attraction, like basically she looks really good, I am attracted towards her, so that's why I got love her. But that is completely wrong. Okay, yeah, like attraction is a kind of like a different thing, it's not a love. Love is a kind of like a thing that na ki when your thoughts and another person thoughts are match. Okay, yeah, and artifact is a kind of like a assembly place where you might gonna attach with that personal another personal. Okay, let's just say she kind of like mentioned that ki she didn't really like this, she didn't really like that, she got this, she that. Like basically, is this thing, your thoughts and her thoughts are matched so perfectly, and you are falling for her. Like you fall that particular woman. Okay, you don't know that she's what and things and that and that. You follow that girl, and right now, whenever she upload her artifact, you are kind of like listening her artifact because you just love her, like you loving her voice, things and that and that. Okay, yeah. Now why am I say this thing, it's a kind of like it's very scary for me. It is scary for me is because of that na ki, let me tell you one thing, when you have too much information you might not love her. Okay, let me kind of like give you another thing. Let's just say you love particular person. Okay, yeah, you love particular person is because of having less exposure in your life. Example is this thing, there is a girl that you like in your college. Okay, yeah, amount of exposure with her is kind of like a very less, mostly in college, that's it, or maybe kind of like in one single call and things and that and that. But same girl you kind of like somebody love, and she kind of like get married with you, then basically the love between you is a kind of like a drop. Let me tell you one thing, love is a, let's just understand the demand and supply. When there is a too much love, demand would be less. When there is a supply less, demand would be much more higher. Same thing happened with the love too. Okay, yeah. So basically, this thing that ki in the college, you don't really kind of like a seen that girl, or maybe you seen that girl in only in college, and that's it. So the supply is always less, and demand is always been high. But after the marriage, she is always with you day and night, every single time. So supply is all the time. So automatically demand would be very less. Okay, yeah, it is actually happened in real life. Now in the artifact, it actually happened too. Like let me tell you one thing. She is not mentioning any kind of like a name about her, nothing really at all. You are kind of like a listening her artifact every single she when she upload, you are kind of like listening. So basically the amount of exposure you have about her is very less. You don't know nothing about her, you don't know nothing about anything, there is no nothing information, nothing really at all, and you love her because her voice and things and your kind of like a thoughts are match and things and that and that. So when you love her, like we love her voice, love her kind of like a thought process and things and that and that and that, then what exactly happened that okay, you are started being kind of like a something cranky, you are started being kind of like a things that okay, I want this girl, I want this girl. Why? Because of exposure of that girl is very less. Okay, yeah, the amount of exposure that you have is very less. Okay, so you love that girl, and just it's just kind of like a things that you are like this is what kind of like a things that things will happen. I think it might gonna happen that key you like a particular person from the artifact, and you will not gonna know who is that particular person, literally. Yeah, now scary part start from here. Okay, yeah, what if that particular person will gonna do something very differently? Like let's just say he is listening every artifact, and he will try to figure it out that key, like where she would be, her accent, like her accent would be kind of like a little bit of Haryanvi, so probably she would be kind of like a from Haryana. Okay, now kind of like she kind of like a mention that ki she is kind of like a somebody all girl college. Okay, so basically just try to figure it out which college have a all girls college. Then yeah, then you are kind of like somebody doing something like a basically like what is actually word for like stalking. Okay, yeah, you are stalking her. Literally, you are kind of like stalking her. Okay, because there is no kind of like assembly things and that and that. So when you are became stalker, oh my god, this might gonna kind of like assembly create a chaos. Okay, so that is what I am so afraid of it. Okay, yeah, and this will happen. This will happen. That's why I am kind of like a give the privacy, as much as privacy as it possible. But still, when you fall with when you fall in love with particular girl from the artifact, probably this thing, it would be very much scary, and that's why I don't really have any kind of like option, and that's why I'm kind of like really afraid of this situation, because I don't know, okay, how do I supposed to handle that situation. Okay, and it will happen. It will definitely happen. There is no, like, if I try to use every possible way that it might not gonna happen, it will gonna happen. It will gonna happen. It is a part of the process. It will gonna happen. The only thing is that, okay, how do I supposed to manage that situation, and how do I supposed to make sure that, okay, this situation will not gonna kind of like a go beyond control. Okay, so I have to figure it out that I have to figure it out that I don't know how do I supposed to do that at the moment, but I have to figure it out that. Okay, whatever. So basically the question is actually about that, how do I supposed to reduce that kind of like a negative artifact all the single time, by kind of like adding the multiple kind of like a topic of artifact, as well as kind of like a simply is this thing that key, making sure that key, like your home feed is kind of like simply have multiples of emotions of artifact, happy, sad, informative, something like that. Okay, yeah, probably, yeah. And also is this thing, if the user doesn't really want that negative, like basically I also kind of like simply have particular section of things. Okay, like basically you click that emotion button, you click the emotion sad button, then there is a sad artifact. You click the angry button, there is an angry artifact. Okay, how that emotion button actually exists, like basically every person who kind of like simply records the artifact, after that there is an emotion button you have to select. Okay, like kind of like a hashtag. Okay, yeah, so you just have to kind of like click that emotion button, like what is actually artifact, what kind of like emotion that is represent. Every user who kind of like simply record the artifact, they have to choose that emotion button, and they hit the public. When they hit the public, that artifact is associated with that emotion button, that emotion, so that the user will kind of like directly went towards that emotion button, and they will kind of like simply find out that okay, which artifact will gonna resonate or things and that and that. So this is how I kind of like simply categorize the every artifact regarding about every emotion, sad, happy, truth, or whatever. All right, so this is I should supposed to end here, and thank you.